Good afternoon, my friends, and welcome back to the Watch Wendigo YouTube channel. Today, we are going to talk about Kershaw's, specifically the Bel Air XL. We're going to go over all of the specs, and then we're going to talk about how I felt and what my experience was while I was carrying and utilizing this knife. As a little bit of a spoiler, I did really enjoy this knife. I kind of figured I would like it, but it surprised me. I was pleasantly surprised. It was more enjoyable to carry and utilize than I gave it credit for. So let's jump right into it. The overall length of this guy is 7.95 inches. So not a small knife, not a big knife. It's just kind of right there in the middle. I'll call it barely full size. The blade length on this guy is 3.4 inches. So decent amount of blade. The blade material, or the blade steel on this guy, is CPM 3V, which is outside of what I generally look for in my knives, but I was looking for something a little bit different, so I decided to give it a try. 3V is known for its extreme toughness, not so much edge retention. It is also not a stainless steel, so I think I said this in the unboxing, but this is a knife I will have to keep an eye on. Keep it oiled, etc., etc. Clean, oiled, stored in low humidity. It can and will rust. Okay, the blade shape on this guy is a reverse tanto. It's Kershaw's kind of signature blade shape. They utilize a similar shape on a lot of things. It is rocking Kershaw's crossbar lock. I think they call it a Duralock, but I'm not entirely sure on that. It's just a crossbar lock, so we don't need a fancy name for it. The weight on this guy, well, I bought it on Blade HQ. They advertised it as 3.1 ounces. My scale called it 3.29 ounces, and when I checked against Kershaw's actual website, they have it labeled as 3.3 ounces. So it's a lighter knife, not insanely light, but it's on the light side of things. It is running on bearings, which is a pretty good change of pace. Some of my other higher end or high-ish end American-made knives that are utilizing crossbar locks. Well, I only have one. That is the Benchmade Osborne. I have the S90V carbon fiber version. It runs on washers, I believe. And we're going to talk about this again when we get to the action section of the review, because it does matter. The grind on this is a flat grind. I believe, pretty much call that a full flat. Looks like it to me. Feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong. The handle material is aluminum. It does have reversible pocket clips. The blade thickness on this guy is 0.125 or 125 thousandths of an inch. The cutting edge, you have a little bit of a sharpening choil here, which they did a decent job with edge termination. You're going to get a little bit of life out of this, which makes sense. In my mind, this is designed as a function over form knife. The cutting edge on this guy is 3 1/8 of an inch, roughly. I just utilized the built-in ruler at the bottom of my mat, and that's about what I got. The finish on this. So the blade has got kind of a heavy stone-washed finish, and then the handle scales themselves are Cerakoted. I don't have a problem with that. It actually has a pretty appealing feel to it. I just don't know how to explain it better than that, but it feels nice in the hand, and even though it's flat, doesn't seem to have any kind of texturing or anything like that, it somehow manages to offer some traction, and I think that's due to the Cerakote. I used to work in the firearms industry. I worked for a relatively reputable firearms manufacturer in my state several years ago. I want to say almost 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. I was employed as a riflesmith. We worked with Cerakote a lot. I recognize that feel. That is Cerakote, for sure. Okay, let's talk about HRC ranges. So, unfortunately, I forgot to hop on Steel Hardness Labs and check to see if Taylor has gotten his hands on any 3V from Kershaw. As a whole, though, looking at Kershaw's results, it seems like they do okay. They're not phenomenal. They're kind of at the lower end of acceptable with most of their steels. I think with the exception, I want to say with the exception of MagnaCut, but again, I forgot to check before hopping on and hitting record, so don't hold me to that. They're okay when it comes to heat treatment. They could do better, but it could be a lot worse. So, let's talk about the price point for a second. On Kershaw USA's website, or Kershaw's website, however you want to say that, it was listed for $235.99. On Blade HQ's website, it is listed for $199.99. On Knife Center, it is listed for $174.99. Now, I bought this on Blade HQ, but I had a discount code. So I believe I ended up paying Knife Center's price for it. I think I paid somewhere around $170, $175 for this. And we'll talk about that again when I loop back around to the value section of like my grading table. Overall, the experience carrying and utilizing this knife was, again, like I already kind of said, I enjoyed it. I expected to enjoy it, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And now that I'm getting around to the review, I'll do a small cut test for you guys, kind of show you how the edge held up. But one of the reasons that I bought this is I'm excited to put my own edge on this. I've heard that 3V sharpens up really well, and it isn't a very difficult steel to sharpen. So I'm going to test that. Let's talk about my experience while I was carrying this knife. Let's go straight into action. That's the first thing I'm going to grade, because I do really want to talk about the action on this knife. Being a crossbar lock, I generally as a whole tend to turn my nose up at crossbar locks. I'm just kind of tired of them. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm just tired of them. Most of you guys know I prefer a heavier detent, and a crossbar lock is just not going to provide that because there isn't anything in there creating a traditional detent feel like a detent ball or a detent post. Instead, what we have is the spring tension on the actual crossbar is what kind of creates the detent. Now that I've said that, let's talk about this guy's action. It's actually pretty good for a crossbar lock. If we were to grade it on the bearings alone, I would actually tell you right now this would be like a 9 out of 10. This is some insanely smooth bearing action. But that's not the only thing that goes into action. There's also how the detent works, how the detent feels, and how all of the deployment methods work. Well, you only have one deployment method, that is the thumb stud. I guess you could reverse flick that if you want to count that as another deployment method. They work great. The bearings feel really, really good. The detent is meh. It's a crossbar lock. It doesn't feel crispy, but it's not as spongy and unsatisfying as some crossbar locks that I have handled, some even recently that I wasn't really all that excited about. They were just okay, they worked. This one's definitely way better than that. In fact, as far as crossbar locks go, as of right now, this is the nicest one I've felt. Like I said, I do have that Benchmade. That is the only other premium knife that I own with a crossbar lock on it. And then I own a couple of budget knives that utilize crossbar locks, and none of them feel all that great, but they do function just fine. Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Everybody hates Omega Springs. Everybody's had one fail on them, or knows a guy that had them failed within the first day of owning the knife, rendering the knife inoperable. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've had that Benchmade Osborne, I've had that Osborne for quite some time. It was a gift from a friend of mine. Gosh, 6 years ago, maybe 7. That might not be entirely accurate. It's been a long time. I've never had an Omega Spring fail. And I have owned very cheap knives that were utilizing Omega Springs, and I've owned more expensive knives utilizing Omega Springs. I have never seen a failure, like actually personally seen an Omega Spring fail. I know that it does happen. People talk about it far too much for it to be a complete and utter myth. It's just never happened to me, or anybody that I actually know that utilizes crossbar lock knives. And I do have at least one friend that is a Benchmade nut. I've tried to lead him in other directions, not because I hate Benchmade or anything, just to kind of expand his horizons, but no, Benchmade is his brand. Specifically, he loves his Freak, which I can't blame him. The Benchmade Freak is pretty cool. So, as far as the action is concerned, I gave it a 7 out of 10. As of right now, I honestly didn't think I would ever rate a crossbar lock that high, just because I'm never really satisfied with the way that they feel. But this one feels great. So, this one feels good. It feels great for a crossbar lock. It feels good when you compare it to everything else. Ergonomics. So, nothing blew me out of the water with this guy, but I also didn't hate anything about it. There are no hot spots. There isn't really an uncomfortable way to hold this knife. You know, everything kind of just works while not being stellar or poor, if that makes sense. It just works. It just does what it's supposed to do. So I'm not going to be hard on it, but I'm also not going to award it a whole bunch of points for that either. So as far as ergonomics go, I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's good. Anybody who's new to my grading scale, or if this is the first time watching one of my videos, one of my review videos, 5 is the minimal acceptable for the given materials, given price point, given company, etc., etc. So 6 is a good score. 6 means they did more than what they had to do. Okay, fit and finish. This was pretty good. I didn't find any real flaws with it. Again, everything functions as it should. Everything lines up. The scales are not higher than the frame or the liners or anything like that. The blade is centered. The crossbar lock doesn't stick out further on one side than the other. Pocket clip looks okay, other than the fact that I scuffed it up a little bit while I was carrying it. It is reversible, by the way. I didn't know if I said that earlier. It also has this lanyard hole if you're a lanyard guy. I generally tend not to be, unless it's kind of a knife that I carry more as pocket jewelry. Then sometimes I'll throw a lanyard with a cool bead on it, just because I'm not really intending to use it all that much anyways. It's jewelry or a conversation starter. So, fit and finish, I'm going to say high 6, low 7. I couldn't settle on an actual score because I did have one minor complaint. This is minor because it's very, very common, and I highly doubt I'm going to be able to catch this on the actual camera. Maybe. If you check here. God, doing this through my camera is dangerous. And there. The blade's not perfectly evenly ground. It looks like they went deeper on this side than on this side. Again, that is actually way more common than you would actually think, but it is technically a flaw. So, let's talk about the factory edge. It came in pretty dang sharp. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Again, 6 is a good score. I wanted to give it a 7, but then I kind of remembered, well, some of those Migrons that I've had come in lately definitely came in with better edges. At least they felt that way. So I didn't give it a 7 because I gave those 7s, so it got a 6. But it's a high 6. It's a good edge. Okay, overall value. This is getting longer than I meant it to be. Again, I need to find a way of streamlining my process because these videos keep getting longer and longer. As far as value goes, I'm going to give this a low 7, high 6 out of 10. Again, those are good scores. The reason for that being, you can get this same exact thing from, say, a Chinese manufacturer, right? And you would probably knock, I don't know, I want to say $30, $40 maybe even off the price. But the fact that this is made in the USA does make me smile. I am proud to say and own that. or own this, so it is what it is. For a USA made knife using a premium steel, relatively premium handle materials depending on how you feel about aluminum, and with good fit and finish, I think it's in the ballpark. It falls close to what I paid for like my Yojimbo, my Spyderco Yojimbo, and things like that. So I'm not unhappy about it. I do feel like it is a good value. Let's do a couple of size comparisons really quick. Here's a smaller knife to compare it to, the Drop Bear Zero. That is how it stacks up against the Drop Bear. It is, let's see, very slightly taller and a good bit longer, the top and the bottom. And now let's compare it to something a little on the larger sides. This is my Gecko Customs Pictus XL. And there you go. The Gecko Customs pretty much dwarfs it. So, as a whole, I really did enjoy this knife. Really quickly, let's go ahead and do an edge test from an old piece of paper that I used for notes for another video. Feels like it could be stropped, but I don't think it really needs to be sharpened yet, just stropped. So, again, this is not an edge retention steel, so I kind of expected that. It is what it is. Overall, I enjoyed this knife. I definitely think it's worth adding to your collection or picking up to add to a rotation, or even if it's going to be your only premium work knife, I think this knife will serve you well. That's going to be all, my friends. Wendigo, signing off.